I would be okay with trading next year's first because everybody loves picks until they're players.
If they just sit there at 26, they make a pick. It's a long wait till they pick again.
You made so many good points in all of that, and none of it is usable. Jenna and I, you were cooking. You were cooking.
I know you talk with your hands, but
I think
he's so fed up with us.
Now, from the Connors and Ferris podcast studio, this is the Buffalo Plus podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus podcast. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We are here in the Connors and Ferris podcast studio. We're going through today some of the prospects we like, some of the prospects we love. My hair is crazy. What we think they will do.
I knew you couldn't get through this intro without addressing
my
it.
hair looks crazy. And our thoughts on the Bills' plan as the draft approaches. I'm having a bad hair day. Michael, I know that happens to you too.
I think I'm good.
All
Dan,
right.
how are you? You good?
Yeah.
Let's get into it though. So some prospects we like, some guys we love, and where we think they'll go and what we think they'll do, because I can't believe how close the draft. I mean, we're rolling right
3
on.
weeks,
Yeah.
right? 2 weeks, excuse me.
2
weeks.
2 weeks from, well, we're recording this Wednesday, 2 weeks from tomorrow. We got to figure first, like, what do we think Brandon Beane's going to do in terms of positioning? Now, give me a number because we're going to talk to him. How many first round grades do you think, if he tells us the number, sometimes he says it, he'll just say not 26 because they're picking 26. And I think most of you realize he means they never have that many first round grades.
Yeah.
Even though 32 players will get drafted in the first round. How many do you think he'll say for
13.
13. What do you got there?
15.
15.
What do you have?
He'll say not 26.
Well, I didn't know we could take that answer.
Well, I was waiting for your guys to come up with a number. I
Missed out
think
on that
he's
smart aleck response.
I think he's
Yeah.
usually around that number. And sometimes you think, well, how would you ever have a first round guy? Well, you don't know who they have a grade on. And if that
Correct.
player slips, they
Mhm.
make a move. He's done it before. Trade up, trade back, stay where you are. Dan, I look at it and I say, I don't see a method of trading up. Maybe a small amount. I don't think they have enough draft capital to trade up. And I don't think they want to dip into next year's draft, which is supposed to be a superior draft.
So why? So you don't think they have enough draft capital to move up using only this year's draft capital? What would it take for you to be okay to move up using next year's first? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. You
Like,
mean if
Carnell Tate's is
Okay.
on the board at 11.
I was like, I don't understand that.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, you'd have to give up next year's one probably, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. That would be a big swing, especially to take a wide receiver, meaning then you've given up this year's one, next year's one, and this year's two for wide receivers this year. So to Jenna's point, Brandon Beane hasn't been investing in wide receivers. He'd have gone, he'd have done
that'd
the
be-
whole thing.
that would be the overkill.
Yeah.
I don't expect that to happen,
Yeah.
obviously, but I do think you mentioned just the draft stock that they have right now in terms of how many picks. I agree. I feel like that means that it's probably unlikely that they will move up in the draft. But that being said, too, I also think that moving back, there's the negatives that come with that as well. It's not like, if they move back, everything's good. It's like you still are that much further from prospects that you have ranked highly. It's just the math of it.
But Mike and I think we're joking on their way up to Sabres the one day that every GM that's able to trade back is viewed as like, way to go. He found a way to trade back, right? Weren't you saying that, Mike? That like the GMs that they're always applauded for moving back, because you talk about like the risk that goes into trading up. But if you can assume draft capital, like what a move. This guy was smarter.
You know why? Because picks are valued more than a lot of players. You think of the picks that you have, you're like, we got a great pick. I think of the Xavier Worthy trade with the Chiefs. Oh, the Bills picked up an extra pick. That's been Dwayne Carter, and it has not panned out because of injuries.
That's my big thing, as I always say. And that's where I I push back a little bit the thought of, well, would you do something and give up next year's first? And you make the point and say, well, next year's draft's supposed to be loaded. It's supposed to be a good draft. Every next draft is a good draft. And no, hang on. But something always happens. Nobody had Fernando Mendoza at this time last year at the number 1 overall. And then you see quarterbacks that you thought, Christian Hackenberg, and a lot of these guys that you thought were going to be great weren't end up being great.
Christian Hackenberg, man, you're going back.
There it is.
Well, I also Penn State quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I also think about Matt Barkley at USC. He was so great as a freshman, and some of these guys, and then things don't end up, they don't end up panning out. So as Jenna kind of beat me to it, but I did want to say it, I would be okay with trading next year's first, because everybody loves picks until they're players.
I think the perception of why next year is better for a couple of reasons is that the way it's worked out with players staying in school a little longer, I think they believe there's going to be an influx of players who have been 3 years staying there, even a 4th year, or in some cases a 5th year staying, and they believe many of them are coming out. And it's intended to be a quarterback heavy draft, which that means it pushes other players back. I was going to make the comparison. I'll give you a sports comparison. So when I was a kid, I played basketball.
I'd rather have a Bravo comparison.
So it'd be like if West here, wait, so like Amanda is like a first round, Sierra is a first round pick. Amanda's a second.
Can you take the one shot?
Did I get this?
Yeah.
Did I get this right?
Can you take the one shot to me? I just wanted on the record that was an incredible interruption by both Dan and Jenna as I began to make an eloquent point about sports.
And so Kyle's like, he was the top pick, but he's fallen off the map,
off the boards
because of off the field concerns about DJing. Mike, you know, Kyle and West and Amanda.
Yeah, I don't get the whole Amanda thing, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. When I played basketball, you were a point guard. You're on the break. You stopped at the foul line.
I'm sorry, your autofocus was going nuts.
You made so many good points in all of that, and none of it is usable. Oh, we're leaving all of this in, but Jen and I, you were cooking. You were cooking.
I know you talk with your hands, but
so
I think
he's so fed up with us.
You made so many good points in all of that, and none of it is usable. Oh, we're leaving all of this in, but Jen and I, you were cooking. You were cooking.
I know you talk with your hands, but
so
I think
he's so fed up with us. Okay, you're good.
So bravo. So you have these two people.
Okay, go back to your take.
I want to get back in focus here and
Yes.
explain what I was
good
talking
segue.
about. High school basketball. You're on the break. I'm a point guard. Stop at the foul line. Look to the wings. If nobody's open, you kick it back out. That was the way the game was played. No cross-court passes, like all that. The world changes. I am tired of hearing about trading back. And I understand why teams do it sometimes. You make the argument that there's no one there we want to give a first-round pick to. It's got the 5th-year option. It doesn't work. Somebody's going to give us an asset. We're going to move back. Okay, I get it. It also has to be the right move. You don't want to go so far back that you give up players that maybe you liked. And I think there's a much better chance they trade back again because they don't have a second-round pick and they want to get another pick in the top 100 somewhere. But it's not always that easy to do. Honestly, you need a team that wants to drop back into the first round, and then you want to give you an asset that is worth it to move back. And I looked at one, like if you move back to the Titans, you're moving back from like pick 26 all the way back to 35, I think it is. And then you add the 66th pick and you got to throw in a 4th. Like this is to get you another pick in the top 100 because They traded away the second round pick and they only have one in the third. So I don't love the idea of trading back because I do believe there should be somebody there at 26 that can help you right away. But again, it depends on how far you want to move back. When they moved back for Keon twice, they moved to the 33rd pick. It wasn't about where they picked. It was the guy they picked.
Yeah.
So you got to pick the right guy. But I guess it was better to pick Keon in 33rd than picking 20, whatever they were that year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm going to steal Jenna's line for a second. Two things can be true at the same time. So, Mike, like you said, I'm okay with trading back. I guess I've just become reluctant to that because I'm like preparing myself for that. And I'm okay with it if you add draft capital, add the second round pick, or whatever you get for it, or whether
you're
it's
not getting
a
a second round pick. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, you're getting the 1 second, obviously. You're moving back to the second,
but it goes back to just picking the right player. So again, you can be okay with trading back and gaining the third round pick that you didn't have that year. It just the two players you've picked, and Dwayne Carter and Keon Coleman, just haven't amounted to what you were, the impact that you needed them to have. So if you can find an impact player and somebody that you still like and gain draft capital, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I think you said it best, Mike, of like, it has to be the right player. Everybody loves the picks until they're players. So that's where it goes back to it, Jenna, stealing your line of two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah. Well, you like to steal lines when they are good for you. No, I'm kidding. I do think, though, how much do you think as well, like what position they're after goes into them trading back too? Because if there's a run on wide receivers, it's like, do they try to capitalize at 26 or do they try to move up? Or if there's in terms of the edge or other positions like that, where it's like, okay, I'm looking at how the draft board is falling and a lot of guys are not getting picked. So maybe we have the flexibility to go back because we like X amount of these guys at X position.
I'm fascinated by the wide receiver thing in this year's draft because they did spend a lot on DJ Moore. Okay, he's going to be probably their number one receiver, right, this year. So now you're sitting there in the draft and you're waiting. And there's Casey Concepcion still on the board in the 20s. There's Omar Cooper Jr., Denzel Boston, these type of players. Are they in a position where one of those guys is worth it for them? One. Is it two? Is it three? Is it none of them they want to take? Like, this is what we have to look at. And also, if you are Jim Leonard, you're sitting there going, okay, fellas. Now, by the way, I don't know. You saw the Warren Sharp put out that chart.
I did.
I don't think that's a negative against the Bills at all.
Can you explain the chart?
So the chart was about what percentage of draft capital were you using for offense
since 2020.
And the Bills were last.
Dead last.
But the other teams in the bottom five were the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Chiefs.
And the Rams.
And there was one bad team in
Correct.
there.
Well, the Rams have not drafted a lot offensively.
Yes, and they haven't drafted, right. But they did, they got Puka in the fifth.
They've got Puka and Kyron Williams.
Right. They got guys later. But I'm looking at him going, well, there's different reasons behind it. With the Eagles have an older offense, and they had already drafted many of those players by that point of time. And they have their quarterbacks.
And the Bills also traded their first round pick in 2020. So there is a little bit of context in that. But I mean, we have been saying for a while that they haven't used a ton for offense, especially at the skill position.
Well, especially at wide
draft.
receiver. At wide receiver.
Correct.
Because they have spent decent draft capital on running backs through the years. They haven't spent it on wide receivers. So it puts them in that spot. And they've been a very productive offense. The concern is getting those players at that point. Look, I'd love a receiver. I just don't know if he's going to sit there at 26 and take a receiver unless it's somebody that they love in that spot. Because I think, God, I hate to say this, I think their needs are bigger at other positions.
Well, we know what positions, or we expect.
Now, look, he's giving me the look.
What?
I want a young wide receiver. I want Keon somewhere else. That's what I want them to do. I would love them to do that. But I'm worried about them not getting enough help for Jim Leonard in this defense for what they're going to be this year.
I agree.
unless they have really high hopes for some of the guys they picked last year.
Would I love for them to get a wide receiver in the top round? Yes. But also, I think with some of their other needs, it makes sense to address the defense.
It's also, I mean, we know we go back to this and we're going to hear a lot about it. Like,
It's good business.
It's cap.
You're right.
It's good business.
Yes.
And that's where I'm also not against this thought of giving up and moving up a little bit. And we also have to understand this time of the year is speculation.
Smoke
it is
season.
smoke season, all of that stuff that is going on, because you're hearing more and more that this guy has actually bigger injury concerns. This guy, like the medicals, this team doesn't like this about some player. And the one we're hearing a lot about, at least wide receiver wise, is Jordan Tyson.
Yeah.
So stud from Arizona State.
Hamstrings, right? It's been a problem for him.
Right. So I guess my thought is a guy like JSN fell more than we thought.
Yeah.
For one reason or another. Justin Jefferson fell for one reason. Oh, Justin can only play in this, Jefferson can only play in the slot, or he can only be in these kind of things. And I guess I sit there and I go, you've talked about the value also in trading up.
Oh, I agree with you. That's why I would have loved them to have more draft capital. More draft capital to be able to move up. And they don't. They didn't get the extra picks.
And that's where I'm sitting there going, I don't care about next year. I'm not worried about how good next year's draft is. I'm sitting there because at some point, Beane has done a really good job for the most part of not putting so much on the credit cards. I think at some point you're going to have to do it.
Yeah. Well,
and whether it is with draft capital or another big wide receiver signing, but those guys, as we've learned,
are
expensive and they cost you draft capital. So if somebody is there at 20 again, I'm starting to get my antennas up, and I would like to think there's a possibility.
So who would you move up for?
I'd move up for Tyson. What would you do? And again, it also goes into there are needs. I'm not dismissing the needs of this defense.
Yeah.
Those are apparent. I also feel like it's a lot easier, and maybe it's just made up in my head, to piece together a defense with some cheaper value free agent signings than it is to sign a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver.
That's fair. I also do think I love Casey Concepcion.
Yeah.
I have from the beginning. My thoughts on that have not changed. I think he would absolutely help this offense. And that's one of the things, like, I feel like for the last couple of seasons, it's been hard on Josh Allen, like just in terms of the wide receivers and the options there and kind of how much they've struggled on the outside of the offense to move the ball. And so just to have more help for Josh, I just think that, like, you're right. It's so funny listening to you guys talk. I'm like, defense, they need to help Jim Leonard. And then listening to you talk, I'm like, gosh, wouldn't it be something to have Josh Allen get the help that he really needs in terms of the pass catchers?
And we don't know what Jim Leonard thinks of TJ Sanders. What does he think of Dwayne Carter? Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are players who, one's coming back. What does he think he has?
Or what will Michael Hoyt be this season?
Right.
Like, guys like that.
Yeah. And they did, because they went obviously very heavy on defense last year and what they have. So, hey, look, I'm saying this. I'm not going to be upset if they take a receiver, because they have needed one. I'm not going to sit there and go, I cannot believe they did that.
Correct.
Because they have not invested enough in that position in the draft. But,
and again, as we continue, like, comment, subscribe, appreciate all the support. I think we did it the one time. Can we do it here?
Yeah.
We'll pause for 5 seconds and let everybody, it gives them a second to everybody to make sure that they like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate it. Awesome. Great job. And let us know what you guys would like them to do, what you would want, and what you think would happen.
Do you think in that 5 seconds you could like, comment, and subscribe?
Well, they've already.
But
it'd be tough to comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now comment.
Or is that somebody, because sometimes people just write comment.
Yes. I do. I'm not going to lie. That makes me giggle every time when I see that.
Again, because I think there's a big difference between, like I said, I want them to add more wide receivers at a cheaper value when it comes to the salary cap, which isn't real, but to at least have that cost controlled aspect of one of the most expensive positions in the game. It's quarterback, it's wide receiver, it's edge rushers. That is where you are spending a lot of your salary cap and, allotting the percentage of it too. So to
it's just
sit
good
there,
business.
right? So to sit there and say, man, we got a guy that for 4 or 5 years is going to be under value cost wise is important. And because they haven't done it. Now, does that mean I think they're going to do it? No, I think they're going to trade back, or I think they sit there and they take an edge rusher, and Chase Howell is another guy that's been mocked to the Bills quite a bit from Texas A&M. He's got short arms.
Cassius Howell.
Yeah, I was like,
so I think that's a big possibility. Or the other one that would be a little bit of a surprise because it's not something I see as a direct need for this team, but a defensive tackle,
Caden
McDonald.
From Ohio State.
So I think that's another one that you're starting to see kind of pop up. Schrager only does 2 mock drafts. He does one at the beginning of the month and then one right before the draft. He's a big run stopper. He can play the nose tackle position. We don't know to what extent Jim Leonhard wants that. That's one of those things, like in theory, what you would want for a 3-4 defense. Like, okay, how many snaps does that guy add to you per game as compared to a wide receiver or an edge rusher? Like, do they need more speed because you have Chubb and Rousseau? Are you looking for something like that? It is a very interesting dynamic because we have talked at length on here about what will a Jim Leonhard defense look like. And we haven't heard from him since his introductory. We don't know what his thoughts are. I think we'll get more of an understanding after the draft of what we think they're going to want to do.
Do you like Caden McDonald?
Yeah, I think look, they have needs for a lot of these players. Like they need an edge rusher. They need a defensive tackle. They need help at corner, though I see all these mock drafts that haven't taken a corner in the first round.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's just because I see that and I'm like, what am I missing? Are they not? But you got to be plugged in if you're doing these drafts, these mocks, right?
Yeah. I think I just don't see it with them unless there is a belief around the league that they don't like Max Hairston.
You're saying
the Bills.
I'm
saying is if there's a belief and they're talking to people and I mean the Bills should talk to corners. You never know when somebody slips. And you get an opportunity, right? Because they need another corner. They only really have 2 outside corners. I just would be very surprised if they invested in a corner.
But
that would be.
But see, I guess that's where I look at it, and I understand like the need for all of the things on defense. But I sit there and I go, I think you can get a corner of some caliber that can make an impact, play meaningful snaps. That's $5 million, like what Trey got.
Yeah.
As compared to what a wide receiver at $5 million.
Right.
No, I agree.
No, I'm just saying like, that's like, you just kind of explained my logic of like, yeah, they need a corner. It's like, I think you can find a serviceable corner in the free agent market in a veteran as compared to finding a wide receiver that makes an impact as a veteran on the free agent market.
By the way, the other position
Agreed.
is safety. And CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to probably be the starter this year, but he's on a 1-year deal because he's always a 1-year deal.
And he played on like 3 teams
right. And
he's on like a week-to-week deal.
If you drafted Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Caleb Downs, who Ohio State is considered a really versatile player,
but he hasn't ran the 40.
Yeah, like those type of players, you'd be like, wait a minute, we're taking a safety. I do think, boy, it's good to be a little bit of a year ahead on those guys.
Yeah.
Where you're bringing him in, there's a veteran already there, and you get him on the field and you figure out ways to use them. Yeah, I'm all for that too. But listen to me. I've wanted them to pick a wide receiver like you the whole time. I just think they've already made a pretty major investment in wide receiver for this year. And but it is better business. It's better business to trade up.
Yeah,
it is.
And
it's
again,
better business for their certain positions, and that's
correct. And you keep taking shots at the defensive line.
Yeah,
I just think you keep shooting.
Yep,
they've shot a lot though, and I get it. This is a new scheme; it's going to look different, but there's been a lot that they've invested and haven't gotten.
I will say, if they just sit there at 26, they make a pick. It's a long wait till they pick again. It's late on Friday.
Yeah.
Before they pick again. So, that's the thing for this draft. And look, they got a really good player, and that's what it cost them. I saw that one report that somebody had said the Bears were ready to cut. They were not going to cut DJ Moore. They were going to trade him. There was a question of the value. I mean, they make it seem like he was going to go right out the door. I don't think they needed to trade him, needed to cut him. But
Yeah.
I think
it was apparent though that
They were moving
Chicago
on.
was going to move in a different
Right,
direction.
right.
I think that's reading between the leaves. What is it?
tea leaves.
Tea leaves. Reading the tea leaves.
Yeah. I really
Which is different than what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Which is one of my dad's all-time
dad
favorite
used to say
sayings.
it.
I had never heard that saying till I started working with you guys.
Same with
Also,
six of one, half dozen the other.
That's,
We were talking about that yesterday.
and
that
what
one
was the
took
other-
me-
That was a Carmen Catalana big one.
That
We
one
loved
took
that
me
one.
a long time to figure out.
Well,
I did that
you
with
do understand it now. Right?
I do understand it now. I actually pulled that one with Renee the other day, and she didn't get it.
Also, if they get in the second round, if they moved back, Jacob Rodriguez, Texas A&M.
I do love him.
First round mustache.
He does.
He
Yeah.
won like every award
First round
in college.
Yeah.
dude. First round dude.
Yeah.
Power couple.
I also really like Emmanuel McNeil Warren.
Yeah.
I really
Safety.
like him. Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to say is I haven't done my mock draft yet. I'm working on it. By
Same.
the time I get to it, I may be trading up in the top 10 to get a wide receiver. Like I'm just thinking them sitting there with just 26, and it just seems like a lot to move up. But
What do you mean?
well, they only have 26. They don't have a
Okay.
second round pick.
Yes. Sorry.
To move up in the first round
Got
normally would cost you a 2.
and that's where it's hard for me to like. Jenna hates this time of the year.
I do.
Okay. She
in
has
terms
been
of the NFL.
correct. And you've done so much more prep this year.
Yeah.
All the things that helped us go to the combine, like
Good
credit.
job.
Good effort.
No, sorry.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah. seriously.
But that's where there are so many players that I like. And I go, they're too early to take in the first, and they won't be there when they're on the board again in the third. And that's
Facts.
that's where, you're not taking Rodriguez in the first round, and he probably will not be there in the third. So now again, we saw Cyrus Torrance. He was a guy that here's a guy that a lot of people had mocked to the Bills possibly at the end of the first round, and they were able to get him in the second. And you were like, that's a steal. What a great pick. And it has ended up being exactly that. So to say there was also that case with Epinesa. So like you will see these things, and that's where you're talking about the smokescreen season, like trying to sift through the BS to see what teams really need, what they're saying they need. That's why I think sometimes people right now, maybe the national people, look and see the Bills' corner depth chart and go, well, they need a corner. So let's mock them a corner. It's like, I don't think it's that black and white. I think there's so much more nuance to it.
Yeah.
If they had a ton of picks, maybe you just say best player. He's the best player. If Benford was older, if Max had played and looked terrible last year, maybe that would be different. But now you can't really judge Max on last season enough to say, we're going to draft a corner again in the first round. I don't.
Or if it would be that, then you'd be like, wow, that's some major concerns.
Yeah.
Which you're right. I don't think that there's been enough evidence to show that is the case.
And so that's why I think we all look at safety as something they need, because we mentioned
there's a lot of good safeties too.
Correct. And we mentioned CJ Gardner-Johnson on the 1-year deal. Jordan Hancock was just drafted last year. And that a little bit of that follow not what they say, follow what they do.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was Spencer Brown coming off that terrible year, his second year,
Second year.
and he was bad. And it was like, hey, if they draft a tackle in the first 2 days, they're thinking it's more than just the back. They're telling us it's the back, but do they really believe that? And then they didn't draft anybody. I remember us going on and doing like the post-draft recap, and I was like, one of the bigger winners is Spencer Brown. Like they have faith in him, they believe, and he has bounced back in a big way. So Jordan Hancock's just another interesting one where was on the field at times. I thought he showed some things in training camp in the preseason where you went, all right, this could be a guy, 5th round pick. So if they draft a 3rd round safety,
Yeah.
What's Jordan Hancock's future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Follow what they do, not just what they say.
Yeah.
Before we get to life advice real fast, do you think that just with the changes that have gone on with like replacing Sean McDermott and having a new head coach, how much is that a factor for Brandon Beane in this circumstance with the draft? Do you feel like he might feel more pressure because of that? Do you think that frees him up? Do you think there's any effect on what that change meant for this team now moving forward as they approach the draft?
Well, the big effect is it's a different scheme, so it opens up more possibilities. It also, puts a little doubt into what they've done in recent years because they were drafting. I mean, look, they had a full defensive draft last year for a different scheme than they're going to play this year. But to some extent, some guys can adjust and play and can handle a new scheme. But this draft, make no mistake, this draft is Brandon Beane's draft.
Right.
So he's got to, he made the decisions on the trade so far. And I think in the past they have looked.
Come on.
I thought you turned your phone off.
I did, but it was on my MacBook. And
Another fine.
Another fine.
That's so bad. How did I not turn that down?
So, but yeah, I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Well, your laptop interrupted you.
Yes, it did. I was like, wait a minute, how did my phone beep? It wasn't my phone.
It
Phone's
was your
turned off.
laptop. Do you think it adds pressure?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. I think we've talked about the mounting.
Do you think it
shift.
changes, though, your approach?
I think it has to. I think you'd be numb not to think about the human element of you were with Sean McDermott, going through the process with him, knowing what for a decade, knowing what to expect, and you don't know what you don't know. And now to whatever extent you want to put credit or blame on Sean McDermott, he is not there. And not only that, we mentioned it, not new news, the fact that Beane has been elevated. So now Beane has more pressure with
More
just
control.
with just the straight up elevation of his position.
Yeah.
To the importance of, hey, you got to get this right. And a little bit, it's kind of like when a player gets a big contract. Okay.
Were you worth it?
Right.
I feel like too, it's the changes, but also to me, it's like, it's also where Josh Allen is at. The fact that he is now 30 years old, the fact that you've had him within your system for so many years, this team has not been able to get over that hump. And we've talked about it so many times, but I feel like, I know a lot of GMs are very, very anti like pushing in the chips. And I get that from a standpoint of like longevity, but also I feel like where this team is getting to, it's like, now is the time to think about that a lot more because of where Josh is at and what you want to see this team achieve and the fact that they have fallen short of that.
I will say this. Usually it's bad teams or dumb teams that trade future ones, not for a specific player. When the Bills traded for Diggs, you were getting a guy you knew was an NFL player. If you were trading in some Max Crosby deal, when they trade up, it's like the Atlanta Falcons gave up their one. It was Atlanta, and the Rams got it.
Yep.
And it's a top 15 pick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is it, like 11 or whatever it is that they're picking.
They drafted the wrong player.
Yeah, I know. I'm not big on using extra ones. I go back to Sammy Watkins when they gave a second one to move up to get Sammy Watkins. Like, I don't love that, giving up that one for like next year's one. You never know what happens in a season, but it's also, good ammunition to have going forward. So,
do you think there's a big swing?
No. But I can change my mind.
We all can.
I'm 60-40 trade back. 60 trade back, 25% stay put, 15% trade up. I think that adds up to 100%.
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, that did.
Wow.
That did.
All right, let's do a little life advice. Reminder to send in your questions to heybuffaloplus@gmail.com. We'll do our part to answer. We have a question coming in. Hello, Mike, Dan, and Jenna. Longtime listener here and huge fan of the Bills living in the Rochester area. Just watched the latest pod and the life advice about baby names really hit home as my wife and I are currently expecting our first child and just found out we're having a girl.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very exciting. While we were truly excited and blessed to become parents to our new baby girl, my wife and I were both hoping for a boy, and I realized that I never pictured myself being a girl dad. What should I expect as a new girl dad? Should I get ready for princesses, tea parties, and doing makeup and hair? Or can I still expect to bond over things of my own interests like football, fishing, and sports? Thank you for reading this. Go Bills. Okay. First off, congratulations.
Yeah, that's
Congratulations.
awesome.
And Dan, you didn't
start
know
out
this,
because
but
you've got like 7 girls now.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, 3.
Oh, okay.
It's very fitting that I wore this shirt today.
yeah.
I think you always wanted to like have somebody that as a dad that like did what you wanted to do. So I agree to the sentiment of like, is my daughter going to want to watch football games with me or fish and things like that? Shane has blown me away in the sense of she loved to go to Amerks games. She loves to do that because it's just something she gets to do with you. And Mike, you were the one that when I was the first one, and my wife and I were actually hoping for a girl. My brother has 2 boys. My wife's a twin, and she had the first 2 were boys. So we wanted like just some softness in the family. And so that is exactly what Shane is. And then getting to Ryan and Taylor. But like you were the one that was like, be prepared to be like, you will be their favorite person in the world.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I guess I probably at a time, because I have 2 daughters and now 3 granddaughters.
Yes.
So I'm girl granddad too. At the beginning, I was like, probably thought like I have a son. And, obviously we love sports. And so you think of that. Now, by the way, there's, I know there are girls who really like sports from what I've been told. My daughters were not those people.
Yeah.
Like it just was different. But at that age especially when they're young, like you are the king. You are the king. And that lasts for a while.
And then
you get really stupid. You don't change, but they think you're an idiot. And then it comes back to you again, tenfold as they get older. And you're with your adult or even young adult daughters. It's the best.
You gonna cry?
No.
Oh,
Okay. I thought you
No.
were tearing up.
No.
it's the best. I love being a dad of girls.
Yeah.
I love being a granddad of girls.
Yeah.
It's the best. If I would have had a boy, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I did have one moment. I think I was covering a high school football game. And I did have that moment where I was like, oh, like I'm never going to have a son that plays football.
Yeah.
And there was one,
yeah.
and then I literally went to it going, well, if one of my daughters has a boyfriend that is the quarterback of the high school football team, then I'll be there to root on. Like
Yeah.
I will be there next to my daughter with any step of the way.
Well, yeah. And she could be just maybe not playing football.
Correct.
I saw a guy playing golf with his son the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I used to play with my dad.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
Like we used to go all the time. My daughter's just not really.
Yeah.
But to the point of him saying, what do we do? You know what I did? People are like, oh, do your daughters and you go to these things? My daughters liked shows, especially like Broadway.
That's exactly
That's what
it.
they loved.
Well,
We took them to that all the time. Honestly, I enjoyed it. It's what they really liked.
Yeah.
They went to a few games with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would ask me about the games. But I highly recommend it.
I feel like it's a way for you to broaden your horizons
No
because you
question.
talk about your daughters and them loving theater and things that maybe you were originally something you would be interested, but I think it's a way to see something new and have it be through a lens of like this little person in your life loving it, and I think that's like really exciting.
Yeah.
That being said, also like I have a sister and a brother. My sister and I both really like football. We both played sports growing up. We both will go fishing with my dad. Like that's not what my brother likes to do.
Right.
So it just
Yeah.
because you're going to have
That's a great
a daughter
point.
doesn't
Yep.
mean necessarily that is completely like not in the equation.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad and I talk football all of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really fun because we bond over that. So I think it's a way to expand your horizons, but also just because it's a girl doesn't mean that you won't still have some of the experiences that you were hoping for as well. Like
Well-
there's just so much unknown.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's such a It's so exciting either way that like maybe it's not what you expect, but like there's so much beauty in it regardless.
Yeah, that's what we were. Like, it was always like, are you hoping for a boy or girl? And you're always like healthy.
Yes.
And then you go through it. And then I had no idea that like this little person could be like your everything. And like my wife's now like, hey, remember, like you were with me first, like before you were
That's
actually
really
like,
funny.
you know, like being daddy and things like that. But it was the fact of, you know, I can do a couple of hairstyles now. Now I'm not as good at it as Renee, but you also have Shane is girly girl to a T, and both of you guys have been around her. And then I have a 2.5-year-old, and I think she could be a middle linebacker right now on a high school football team.
Flag football.
Yeah, and she wants to play soccer. So we're getting her into soccer. And
Which
we always ask,
pumped.
and we always ask Shane, do you want to play sports? Daddy, I do not like sports. It's like, awesome. But I have videos of the Braves in the postseason and her in my arms. And I've been to hockey games with her, and she watches football games and looking for me on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So like that's still on Sundays. And so all of that goes into it. It's just an interesting dynamic.
Just because it's not what you expect doesn't mean it can't be even better than what you were hoping for.
Oh, I think it is. Because look, you're a new dad. It's awesome. You really have no idea.
No idea.
None.
Nobody ever does.
You aren't prepared. No one is ever fully prepared. You can be, you know, anticipate the unexpected because that's what's going to happen. But it's awesome. And you're right. You find yourself opening your mind up to things. It's like, I'm not going to force my daughter to go do what I want to do.
Correct.
In that case, I never had to though, because I was just like, another thing I think I was really good at in this case, I'm an elite shopping companion.
Oh, see, that's where I got to get better.
My daughters,
I'm horrendous.
Zach is really good.
And this is the pre-phone days. I would find a spot that I could hang out. My dad was good at this too. He would just especially when he'd take my daughters and they would go. He would just hang out. He'd go find a place to hang, let them shop, go do whatever. Come on, dude, you got the phone. You can hang out anywhere. Yeah. Every once in a while, slip off to a bar, have a beer while they're shopping with their, and whatever. And that part too is like they would be like, are you sure? And I'm like, doesn't faze me because I'm spending time with them.
And you talk about the shows, like we now make it a thing to go to Disney on Ice every single year. And like to see the excitement, you think about like, oh, I want my son to be excited to go to a baseball game.
Yeah.
Well, you're going there for your kids' excitement. Like you want to see that look in their face. And to go to Disney on Ice, and like my oldest daughter, Shane, she dances. I know nothing about dance, which is very funny because your two daughters also grew up dancing, and my wife danced. And so my wife would be trying to like help her with steps and things like that. And I'm just sitting there like, Renee, she's crushing it. What are you talking about? Because I know nothing about what's going on. It's just, you have those proud moments as a parent to see your kid have the courage to get up on stage and do these things and all of that stuff. So again, by the time we had our third kid, it was like, it's what I know.
Yeah.
And there's 15 princess dresses in our basement, and there's 42 Barbies in a bin in the basement, and there's not action figures, but there's a soccer ball and things like that. So it's the best.
Yeah. Should I get ready for princesses, tea parties, and doing makeup or hair?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. And you may be very surprised. And look, you're having your first, like my two daughters were different in the way they did things. As you've already explained, they're just different. And even my two granddaughters are very different. Gemma seems to really like the Bills. She's go Bills. She'll say to me when she's, and she's 2 years old.
That's cute.
And they sort of watch the games.
Yeah.
They go that way. But now you'll have it would be awesome with boy or girl, but I love the fact of having girls.
When it is funny because people will be like, all of your girls' names are technically boys' names. With Shane, Ryan, and Taylor.
Yeah.
It's like, did you really want a boy, Dan? It's like, no, I swear. I'm totally happy. I've got all the girl dad stuff.
I remember asking you before Taylor was here, and I was like, are you hoping for a boy? Which I thought was an honest question because you have two girls, and you're like, honestly, this was your response. You're like, I really think I'm crushing this girl dad thing. And I was like, what? I was like, wow, that was like really
we had all the clothes and the toys, and like we didn't need to go get action figures and fill up more bins. It was, and again, the 3 of them are as thick as thieves. And the other thing you will have to know, get ready to have makeup put on and your fingernails and toenails painted.
Yeah.
I think that's so cute though.
That's very.
We painted my dad's toenails. When he was little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No free feet pics, but it was the fact of there were so many times when I'll be somewhere or I'm at the gym and I'm going in the sauna or something like that, and I'll look down and be like, yep, there's a pink and purple toenails. Like, yep. If you didn't know,
like, no, I dropped a weight.
Yeah, if you didn't already know I was a girl dad, you definitely do now. So.
Yeah. Well, very exciting.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Too.
I
That's
said
awesome.
all the bracelets. They've made them for me. Like it's just everything about it.
Yeah. I think you embrace it, and you're
best of luck.
Exciting. Yes. Congratulations to you and your
Rest
wife.
up now.
And if you other people watching have other life advice questions, send it to us. Hey, buffaloplus@gmail.com.
These are fun.
Yeah.
They really are.
A lot of stuff. We've lived a lot of life.
We've covered the gamut.
We have seen some shit.
All right. Let's wrap up.
Yep.
Good. All right. That'll do it for us. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment in the Bills draft plan, what you think of it. If there's a guy you really love, what you expect.
Can I add one thing? We are going to do a live draft preview show from here in the Connors and Ferris podcast studio the night before the draft. Wednesday night. The plan is 7:00. We will be live, brought to you by White Claw from here in the studio. We will get you ready for the draft that begins on Thursday. And then we'll be live and having content during the draft and wrap-up show that Saturday night after the draft is over.
Yes.
So, but be ready for that Wednesday night, 7:00, right before the day before the draft.
We are closing in.
Shout out White Claw.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're gonna do something special with White Claw too for that pre-show.
I'm excited.
So that'll be good.
All right, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We'll catch you next time here. For Mike and Dan, I'm Jenna. We'll catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus podcast.
Buffalo Plus.